Good afternoon, everybody. David Shuster here on Take Action News. This is the final show of 2012 for Take Action News, or the first one of 2013, depending on when you are listening or watching us. Some of you are watching on our YouTube channel, Take Action News TV. Special thanks to all of you who are doing that. Many of you are listening on WEAC radio stations, including WCPT in Chicago, WVKO in Columbus, stations in Oklahoma and Grand Rapids. Thanks to all of you who are part of our program, and what a great 3 hours we have coming up. We're going to continue the discussion over the gun debate. It looks like Congress is starting to move. When Congress comes back in January, there'll be proposals that will be introduced in both the House and the Senate for gun control. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the media dust-up this week involving Piers Morgan and David Gregory, both of whom are now the subject of petitions at the White House. Embarrassing for both of them, and we've got a fascinating interview coming up. In our third hour, we're going to talk about Anonymous. This is the group that has launched that war on the Westboro Baptist Church. Great interview that we had with Alan Rosenblatt last week. We'll talk with a member of the group who is essentially hacking their way into Westboro Baptist Church websites and causing havoc that way as part of the war. We'll get an update. But we're going to start, as we always do, with the world of politics and what's going on here in Washington, the news, and what you can do to influence outcomes. And we start with the fiscal cliff. As of the time that we taped the show late in the week, there still was no deal in terms of avoiding the fiscal cliff, no deal to keep the Bush tax cuts at their present rate. So as of January the 1st, if nothing gets done, tax rates go up across the board on everybody. President Obama came back from Hawaii to meet with Republican leaders. Harry Reid said that right now it looked as if the Democrats and Republicans would not get a deal and were headed over the fiscal cliff. President Obama spoke about this a week ago and outlined his principles about trying to get an overall package done. Listen.
I am still ready and willing to get a comprehensive package done. I still believe that reducing our deficit is the right thing to do for the long-term health of our economy and the confidence of our businesses. I remain committed to working towards that goal, whether it happens all at once or whether it happens in several different steps.
By several different steps, the president was suggesting that perhaps a small deal is the one that will get done. That is, the president and Democrats, Republicans will agree simply on the extension of the Bush tax cuts for everybody making less than $400,000 a year. If you're making more, you'll see your tax rates go up from 36 to 39%. But there are some other steps that also need to be taken. There's unemployment benefits that are due to expire at the end of the year. There's the payroll tax issue that needs to be patched. And then, of course, there's sequester. There are automatic cuts to the defense budget and to social programs if, in fact, Congress cannot agree on an overall budget deal. The president has suggested again and again, he said again and again, that the most important thing is to try to prevent the tax rates from lapsing and from going up on all Americans. Here again is the president.
Package that prevents a tax hike on middle-class Americans, protects unemployment insurance for 2 million Americans, and lays the groundwork for further work on both growth and deficit reduction. That's an achievable goal.
But is it so achievable? Again, going into the last weekend of the year, Republicans and Democrats said they were not even close. Not even close. The Democrats are betting that if, in fact, we go over the fiscal cliff, and as of the day after New Year's, January the 2nd, if everybody's tax rates are going up and Wall Street starts to panic, and there are all the headlines, the blaring news stories about Washington going over the fiscal cliff and tax rates going up, that Republicans will be to blame. And all the polling backs up the idea that Republicans would be to blame, that the public would hold them responsible for turning down the president's offer. The president, you recall, in the last couple of weeks said, look, we'll extend the tax cuts. We'll keep the tax rates as they are for 98% of Americans. We'll just have them go up on the wealthiest Americans. And Republicans walked away from that. The Republicans, though, in an effort to try to shift some of the political damage for what may be coming, they're coming up with this sort of idea that, well, wait a second, the House has already passed legislation that would extend the Bush tax cuts for everybody, and it's the Senate which refuses to take up that proposal and which is not taking up anything else. Here's Congressman Tim Scott, a member of Congress, a Republican member of the House, who has been slotted to fill that Senate seat that has been vacated. Here's the incoming Senator Tim Scott, a Republican.
The House has acted already. The House, we've passed sequestration on 4 occasions. We've extended all the tax cuts, and now we wait for a response from the other side. We stand prepared to be here in Washington whenever the President or the Senate has a proposal that we can take and act on.
Well, it's clever. It's clever to blame the Democrats and say, look, you got control of the Senate. You're not you're not passing anything on the Senate floor that the House can consider, and we've already passed something in the House. Never mind, of course, what the House passed is a non-starter.